It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. We are broadcasting live from our studios in downtown Nashville. We are joined in studio by the original All-Star panelist, Carmichael. Crom?
Greetings, Michael.
A little brisk out there this
It
morning.
is, but I like brisk. I don't like cold. Brisk is good.
How many degrees are there between
10.
brisk and cold?
10.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's about
40 to 45 is brisk.
Yeah. We're about 40,
30,
right?
30 is
Here
cold.
in Nashville.
Yeah. 30 is cold.
Yeah.
I don't like cold.
I'm with you.
And below 20 is I really don't like it. But then you have to be dressed for that.
Yeah.
You can move very uncomfortably from a relatively short distance at 30 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Not 20. You better be dressed for it.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that because, as you know, I grew up in very cold upstate New York.
Yes.
Beautiful in the summers, just gorgeous, but very cold and very dreary in the winters. And my theory is that I only have so many cold days in my DNA available.
Okay.
I've used them all up.
Oh, okay.
I don't want any more cold days. And you're right. One of the beauties of living in the South is you don't have a lot of days where you have to really bundle up.
Right. But you have enough where you get the seasons.
A little variety.
Yeah, and every year I hope we have one really nice snow for the kids.
Yeah.
2 is okay. Beyond that, I'm not happy. But there's nothing I can do about it.
So the interesting thing about that is, as a kid, it's just the inconvenience of putting all those layers on and the boots and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't need to deal with that.
Right.
I don't want to deal with it.
Kind of like if you go snow skiing. There's a lot of effort in getting prepared on a very cold ski day.
Yeah.
Lots of effort.
It is kind of
And
fun.
in that case, if you miss anything, it's a terrible day.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
you don't get a do-over once you start up the mountain. You don't get a do-over.
I like non-cold environments for the most part. Well, Crom, lots going on.
Yep.
Lots going on, and right now, as we speak, the Speaker of the House, at least for now, Mike Johnson, is on the third option.
You know, this is a fascinating thing to observe and to try to put it in some kind of historical context as to what's going on here, because you see a number of institutions that are crumbling before our eyes. And you look at how just a few years ago those very same institutions were trying to crush what has replaced them. And it's just fascinating that the mainstream media was all about misinformation and disinformation and trying to set up a government bureau to control information. Mm-hmm. And they did not succeed in doing that. And in the intervening 24 months, especially since Elon Musk purchased Twitter and changed it to X. Since then, the world as the mainstream media and institutional media understood it has fundamentally changed, and they're not going to be able to put that genie back in the bottle. Now, what that means is still something to be observed, but the old way of doing things is no longer. And so let's review what has happened here. Mike Johnson and Hakeem Jeffries and Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer negotiated a bill that kept the government going.
But it was filled with 1,500 pages of pork.
No question. I'm going to make a guess here, that Mike Johnson's key goal was to keep the bill as short as possible so that when Trump took office, he could then do what he wanted to at the end of that time. That's what I think Mike Johnson.
When you say as short as possible, you mean in terms of length of time.
Yeah. Length of time. Yes. Length of time. Thank you for that clarification. So the bill funded the government through, I think, the end of March or close to the end of March.
March 14th.
Okay. All right. So there you have it. So I think that was what Mike Johnson was focused on. And then what the other people were focused on was, okay, if Mike Johnson wants that, we'll give him that, but we're going to throw in a whole bunch of goodies. for our special interests, which for Mike Johnson, that was that was a deal he was willing to accept. Now, as it turns out, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are Doge is trying to do exactly the opposite. And so they called out all of the pork in the bill, and then the bill didn't pass because enough Republicans rebelled where it was going to end up being a Democrat pork bill with a few Republicans supporting it, and Democrats wouldn't do that.
Now, you talked about the old way versus the new way.
Yes.
That has been the old way for, 50 years?
Yeah, as long as I can remember, and that's a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
It's unfortunate, but that is. It's a fact.
But, and typically what would happen is the leaders would cut the deal, and the regime media would say, "Oh, it's a wonderful deal.
Yeah.
It stopped the shutdown."
Yeah.
And then the rank and file members of the House are stuck. They either sign off on the terrible bill, or the awful, terrible government shuts down, and they get blamed.
And that method of getting terrible bills passed could only work so long as the regime media was able to control the narrative.
Correct.
And now they've lost control of the narrative. Now there are other sources, and the MAGA movement is now a dominant force, a very dominant force. In fact, I would argue that the MAGA movement is almost as dominant as the government employee unions are in terms of their influence on the Republican Party. The government employee unions have for decades controlled the Democrat Party and its agenda. Now the MAGA movement is the threat that if a Republican House member, especially a House member or a Senate member who's coming up for election in the next election, they have to pay great attention to the MAGA movement because the mainstream media cannot provide coverage.
Yeah.
Air cover. And so it's fascinating to watch. And it's fascinating to watch how the mainstream media is now trying to attack Musk.
Oh, yeah.
It is. I mean, but the problem that they have is in the past, when they focus their guns on a particular person, they control the narrative and they could take down that person. Musk has guns bigger than their guns.
Yeah.
And so
Isn't that delightful?
Yes. And so when they take on Musk, he fires back and his caliber is bigger than their caliber. And so then they look more and more foolish. And this is where the problem is. You have that guy, I think you all talked about him, who did a mea culpa.
Chris Cillizza.
Yeah. Now, here's my question. If I were interviewing him, I'd say, Chris, were you fooled for 4 years or were you dishonest for 4 years?
Would you like the answer?
Yeah. What is it?
Well, if he was being honest.
No, I'm saying what would his answer be?
Well, he was being dishonest.
No. Tell me what his answer would be.
Mumble, stumble, bumble. I just tried to report it, and I maybe should have done better.
Okay, but so you were fooled. So why should we believe anything that you report on in the future if your judgment was that bad in the past? Why should we? And this is, by the way, this is what Musk is doing to those people.
Yeah.
It's what I just did, and that is that if these people, these individuals who covered up for Biden for 4 years, if they think they can reestablish their reputations by acknowledging their failure in 4 years, they either failed for one of two reasons. Either their judgment is terrible or they're dishonest, in either case, it's not worth listening to them.
I completely
agree. That's where they are. I mean, that's where they are.
We'll have more with the original All-Star panelist, Crom Carmichael. When we get back, I'm Michael Patrick Leahy. The website, TennesseeStar.com, TennesseeStar.com.
Hi folks, John Fredericks here for Freedom Alliance. Veterans are still struggling with the wounds of war. They came home with injuries that changed them forever. The flag-burning troublemakers in our streets remind me how fortunate we are to have patriots who served and fought, sacrificed, and never complained. We need to support them through organizations like the Freedom Alliance. It's Military Appreciation Month and time to support those who serve. Freedom Alliance is caring for combat veterans and military families. Combat veterans fought in the worst, most dangerous places on earth. Freedom Alliance takes them to nature's most relaxing locations so they can heal. Freedom Alliance gives injured troops mortgage-free homes, new cars, and all-terrain wheelchairs. For wounded vets, there's nothing like the stability of your own home, the reinsurance of a reliable vehicle, or the independence of a wheelchair that navigates snow, ice, beach, pasture, or most any terrain. Let's fight for those who fought for us. Go to freedomalliance.org/Godzilla and make a monthly gift that will improve the life of a military hero. That's freedomalliance.org/Godzilla. Make a contribution today.
If you're like me, most moms find it difficult to prioritize self-care. Hi, it's Colleen, Program Director at the John Fredericks Media Network. With the demands of programming 13 radio stations, it's easy to forget about the things I should do for myself daily. And that's why I started with our company's Women's Challenge with Native Path Collagen Peptides. It's affordable and convenient care in just one scoop a day. There are so many incredible health benefits like bone and joint support, metabolism booster, and hair, skin, and nail improvement. I like to take a moment each day to prioritize myself and indulge in the health-boosting benefits of Native Path Collagen Peptides. I love mixing it up with all the different smoothie recipes, too. Learn more about Native Path Collagen Peptides and read 7 important reasons why you should be taking collagen peptides at getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Prioritize your self-care with Native Path Collagen Peptides. Try it risk-free for as low as $21 today and get free shipping at getnativepath.com/Godzilla.
Target.com. Target.com is an online e-commerce tire retailer. We are here to serve the American public with the best possible customer service, the best pricing, and we make it extremely easy. We have many name brands and a lot of low-cost tires. The price is right, and it's easy. You go online to Target.com, Tireget.com, Target.com. You go there, you put your zip code in, all the inventory displays right in front of you. You can call in for help if you want to. We'll help you get the tire that you need. But we will take the tires you buy and at no extra charge deliver them to the dealer right by your house where they will be installed at the market price. It's easy. The best price, the best service. Great people to deal with. Thank you for going to Target.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Crom Carmichael in studio. Crom, in our previous hour, I asked our guest here in studio, All-Star panelist Roger Simon, about his recollections of Christmas because he had such a different background than I did. He grew up as a kid in New York City, a Jewish kid in New York City. I grew up as a Catholic kid in upstate New York. What are your recollections of Christmas? Because you've got a very interesting background geographically.
Well, Christmas for me has probably been what any typical a Christian family might be. I don't know. I was raised Presbyterian. Yeah. So
of course, Carmichael. Scottish.
There you go. Well, Presbyterian.
Yes.
And so I don't know. I know that Jewish people have a holiday, Hanukkah, and I don't know exactly if the Catholic way of celebrating Christmas is much different than the Christian, than the Protestant method of celebrating. I know that Catholics have masses and things like that around Christmas that are very important to their
midnight mass. Typically, I went to
their faith.
You, as a child, you were born and grew up in for your first years of your life in the center of Catholicism in America, South Bend, Indiana, home of Notre Dame University.
I mean, I was born there.
You're born there.
Yeah, but we moved to New York when I was 2. And Dad got his. Well, we weren't there very long either. He was there at Columbia University getting his PhD in public administration.
I didn't know that.
So then we moved to Nashville when I was 4.
Okay.
And then we were here for 4 years. Then we were in Spartanburg, South Carolina for 4 years. And then at age 12 moved back to South Bend. And then my life since then, my South Bend was, my mother was born there. When we moved back there when I was 12, she remained there until she passed away a little over a year ago.
So in your formative years, you probably don't remember much about. This is fascinating. You, Crom, you and Roger lived in New York City.
Well, my first memories,
yeah,
are memories of Nashville.
Yeah, I know.
Not New York.
I was trying to make a little bit of a joke
Right,
there.
yeah. So
you, as a child,
I was not a New Yorker.
of which you don't remember anything.
Right.
You lived probably not too far away from Roger.
There are pictures
Yeah.
of me as a child in a little harness so that I wouldn't run away and run into traffic.
Well, you probably would be
And
the
it
kind of
worked.
kid who would run away.
That's why they had me in a harness. But
hold on just a second. I got to. Roger is going to find this hilarious.
Okay.
Because you probably live just like a couple blocks away, because Mount Sinai Hospital is near Columbia University.
All right. Okay.
So that's funny when you were a kid. But most you don't really have any recollections, except this is why you're such a Southern gentleman. You spent
mostly in the South.
Yeah, mostly in the South.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
then of course I started at Vanderbilt in '67, and I've been here in Nashville ever since. So that's a long time.
But you age 4 to 8 in Nashville, then age 4 to 8 in Spartanburg.
8 to 12.
8 to 12.
8 to 12 in Spartanburg. Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be those would be the formative years.
Sure.
And it would be in those years that we're talking about. Your experience.
and my experience around Christmas was very family oriented and these types of things with a certain amount of religion and Christ centered Christmas involved in it. And so but
I got one other thing I got to say on
Please.
this before we get further. Back in the birth the city of your nativity.
Okay.
South Bend.
Yes.
Something big's happening tonight in South Bend, Indiana.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
Indiana University.
Yeah.
Is the 10th on that list of 12 in
Right.
the college. They're playing number 7 Notre Dame
Yes.
at South Bend.
Right.
Very interesting.
Should be a good game.
Be a great game.
And I'm obviously pulling for Notre Dame. But what I wanted to talk about last night, Kathy and I watched the old version, the original movie, Miracle on 34th Street.
The one that was filmed with the young Natalie Wood.
Yes.
In the late 1930s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Black and white film, classic.
Yes. Now, when you look at me, can you think of anything that I might have done that would connect me with Natalie Woods? Can you think of anything?
That would connect
Yeah.
Carmichael.
Yeah, with Natalie Woods.
With Natalie Woods. Mm-hmm. Not a thing comes to
Okay,
mind.
well, I kissed Natalie Woods
Okay.
once.
Hold it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is a family show.
Well, it wasn't a big kiss. Wasn't a big kiss, but it was
Okay.
a kiss.
Now that you've raised the issue, how did this improbable event come about?
It's a great story. My dad ran a company called Associates,
Right.
the Associates, which was a consumer finance company, and it got bought out by Gulf and Western. Mm-hmm. And Gulf and Western also owned Paramount Pictures.
Right. They owned that when they made The Godfather in the '72.
Okay.
Paramount.
All
yeah.
right. Well, okay.
Gulf and Western.
Well, and the Republican convention was being held in Los Angeles, and when the Republican convention was being held,
What year was this?
It was
64?
either 64 or 68.
Okay.
I think 64.
I think 64.
Okay. And so at any rate, Gulf and Western owned Associates, and so we were invited to, and Dad was a delegate to the convention.
You go way back.
Yeah, he was a delegate to the convention.
Yeah.
And so we were invited to a party at the home of a producer / director named Ivan Tors. Mm-hmm. And there were lots of Hollywood stars there, including Lauren Green, who came up behind
Bonanza.
Yes, who came up behind my mother and thought she was somebody else and wrapped his arms around her from behind and says to her in her ear, "Hello." And Mom looks back, and Lauren Green was her fave. and she swooned. I've never seen my mother swoon, but she swooned. And so at any rate, so
Well,
the party,
we're getting-
there are a lot
we're
of stars there, including
far
Natalie,
afield here.
including Natalie Woods.
Yeah.
She's at the party. And so after dinner, everybody's kind of sitting in a circle, and somebody, and I don't know who, said that there was a ventriloquist in the room, and that the ventriloquist would like to have a volunteer to hypnotize. Not a hypnotist, not a ventriloquist, a hypnotist. Wanted somebody to volunteer. So I got volunteered, and I was happy to be volunteered. And so he does a fake hypnotic trance. So he was acting like he had hypnotized me, and then I was acting like I was hypnotized. And so my sister Carmi thought I was actually hypnotized, and so she wanted to ask some questions. And he said, no, he's not under a deep hypnotic trance, so he wouldn't answer any questions he wouldn't otherwise answer. And so to prove that I was hypnotized, he asked me a couple of questions like my date of birth and things like that. And then at the end of it, he says, I'm going to count to 3, and you're going to come out of your hypnotic trance. And you're going to, and then you will no longer be under the trance, except for one thing. When you hear the name Ivan Torres, you will get up and walk across the room and kiss Natalie Woods.
This is a true story?
This is a true story.
Okay.
True story. And so he goes.
How old were you?
Well, if it was I was born in 1948.
Yeah.
So I would have either been 16 or 20.
Okay.
Okay. So he says whenever the convention was in Los Angeles, you can look that up. Whenever that was.
Go.
So at any rate, he goes 1, 2, 3. And I kind of act like I've just been awakened from this trance, and I'm sitting there almost feeling like I'm in a sprinter's position,
Right.
waiting for somebody.
Really?
Yeah, because the host of the party was Ivan Torres, and so somebody walks into the room and says, "There's a phone call for Ivan Torres." So I then mechanically get up and walk across the room and kiss Natalie Woods.
And how did she react, Crum?
She's an actress. I mean, she's just, how's she going to act? I mean, we're not talking about some. No,
did you realize?
No, it wasn't some big kiss. It was just a little, almost like how you're going to, it was a hello kiss type thing. But anyway, it was that's my claim to fame. So when I watch Miracle on 34th Street,
That's what you're thinking.
because she's in it. She's the little child.
So you watched the movie.
Watch the movie, but here's what's interesting. When you watch that movie and you get down to the themes of the movie, and you take those themes and move it to today from a political standpoint, the mother of the child was very practical, very common sense. Everything was based on reality. And Fred Bailey was a bit practical, but he absolutely liked the old man, Kris Kringle.
Right.
Okay. And then when Kris Kringle got in trouble, he gave up his law practice. He agreed to be fired from the law firm because the law firm was practical, common sense, and didn't want one of their associates representing Kris Kringle as being being Santa Claus. Thought that was crazy. Don't do that. It'll hurt the reputation of our law firm. And so then the mother of the little girl, who had taught the little girl already that Santa Claus was a myth, and then Fred Bailey, they get in, not Bailey, I'm blanking on his last name, but his first name is Fred, and they get into a fight over why she won't overcome her practicality and common sense and believe in something.
And the bottom line is?
Well, this is what we're going through right now politically, is that you've got the old practical common sense way of doing things in the past is now being confronted with, we've got to believe that there is a better way and that better way can actually be accomplished.
And there is a better way, and it can be accomplished.
Yes. Yeah.
And we'll discuss that and more.
All right.
When we get back with the man who once kissed Natalie Wood, Crom Carmichael. Back after this. want to say a few words about our friends at the Nashville Pizza Company, 2176 Hillsborough Road. The Nashville Pizza Company in Franklin reminds us that the current economic times have been tough on many families in our area, and many are finding it hard to make ends meet. Your donations of clothing or canned goods can make a difference for a family in need. During this holiday season, give from the heart so others can have a new start. That's courtesy of our friends at Nashville Pizza Company, 2176 Hillsborough Road in Franklin. They are always working to keep our community moving in a positive direction.
My fellow Americans, my good friends, I've known them for a long time, at D.T. McCall & Sons have the deal of a lifetime for you, and nobody knows deals like I do. That much I can tell you. Nobody knows deals like I do. The lumber yards, they can hit you with hidden charges for up to $200 extra. They'll charge you for cords and hoses and haul-offs. Your money goes all over the place and out of the state, and most importantly, out of your pockets. How do they get away with that? I don't know how they do that, but on day one, if you buy from McCall's, we are going to stop the hidden charges as soon as you buy it. D.T. McCall & Sons has locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, and they have been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years. Head to one of their stores today or check them out at dtmccalls.com. You're going to love it. Believe me.
Impersonator not endorsed.
This summer, never leave pets in vehicles while running errands. Even with windows cracked, 80 degrees can shoot up to 120 degrees, causing heat stroke, dehydration, and even death. So keep pets hydrated, shaded in cool areas, or just leave them at home. That's from Kathy, Candy, and the staff at Mutts Cuts Grooming, the people with warm hearts for those with cold noses. For your pet's grooming needs, call 931-645-9220. That's 931-645-9220 for Mutts Cuts Grooming in Clarksville, Tennessee at 1479 Tiny Town Road.
Hey there, this is Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of The Glock Store. As a proud sponsor of this show, you may have heard Michael Patrick Leahy mention us a few times over the past 4 years. But today, it's me on the radio telling you how pleased we are to be associated with Michael Patrick Leahy and his dedication to the highest levels of professional journalism. Michael Patrick Leahy has been threatened with jail time in bringing the true facts about that Nashville Covenant shooting to his listening audience. Michael Patrick Leahy, you keep doing what you're doing, and we here at the Glock Store will keep sponsoring your show for the good of Nashville and the entire country. And I'm personally inviting all of your listeners to come visit and shoot at the Glock Store. It's where Michael Patrick Leahy learned to shoot a gun for the first time and where he bought his own personal Glock 19. I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of the Glock Store here in Nashville, just minutes from the airports, worth the drive from anywhere, and a proud sponsor of Michael Patrick Leahy and the Tennessee Star Report.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. In studio, the original All-Star panelist, Crom Carmichael. Crom, we're closing out on 2024. Lots of stuff going on in politics and business. It's hard to keep up with it, isn't it?
Well, it is, and what's interesting is so much of what's happening right now. It's here's what's interesting: Elon Musk has no official role in government, and so he has there's no constraints on what he says. Okay, literally, there are no constraints. The Democrats can't constrain him. Trump, if he wanted to, can't constrain him from what he says. I'm not talking about what he does, but what he says. And Vivek and Elon Musk are tied at the hip on the Doge Commission, and there have been 2 or 3 other similar commissions in history on so-called Doge, and have never done anything.
Yeah, they've been blue ribbon commissions.
Ribbon commissions
that don't do anything.
That don't do anything.
Yeah.
Peter Grace headed up one for Reagan.
Yeah.
It amounted to a sum, not much, and then Barack Obama had one, and then just completely ignored it. And actually, it recommended some huge changes that were completely ignored. And but now you have this Doge, which Trump is serious about. Now, here's what he's not, what he has taken off the table. And this is an interesting question. Once again, let's go back to Miracle on 34th Street. And there's a gray line between common sense and practicality and belief in what can be accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, Trump has taken any kind of Social Security reform that would cut benefits off the table.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And I think that is a wise political decision because there's a lot that you won't be able to get if you include that in the package. And so would you rather...
Yeah, and by the way, the whole Social Security thing, there's no way that you can change that in this sense. It's a scam ultimately, but people paid into it for years.
That's right,
and promises were made.
Right, and the people who got much greater benefits than they paid in, they've passed away.
Yes,
because they were the ones getting the benefits in the first 30 years of the program from 1945 1975.
Mm-hmm.
People now who are retiring on Social Security are not getting even a good return on all the money they put in.
That is true, a true statement.
Yeah. Now Medicare is something that Trump has taken off the table for political reasons, but I think that if health care reform, and we've talked about this, there are 3 elements of health care reform that must be part of any reform for it to be meaningful. One is you must do away with the annual deductible. One is you must have price transparency. And the other is you must have HSAs for lower and middle income savings accounts that are similar to food stamps in what they accomplish, okay? And that is to allow providers to be paid in full. I'm not talking about catastrophic. I'm not talking about major medical. I'm talking about everything below hospitalization. Needs to be able to be paid in full at the time of service out of the HSA, and then the insurance companies need to be in the business of insuring major medical only, and do away with the annual deductible, because it's the annual deductible that drives up the cost of every service in healthcare by a factor of 2. So you can literally save at least 50%. 50%.
I think these are all good ideas.
Yeah, but if he does that in healthcare, Medicare can be benefited financially. In other words, the benefits to the beneficiaries won't be reduced, but the cost of providing them can be produced if we handle it that way. Now, that's it's a number of things, but if you don't include all of the things, it's kind of like building a very, very high-performance automobile. Everything must be just right for that car to work properly. And right now we have a system that is not operating well at all. It's for most part, it's providing high quality. It's not doing it anything close to an efficient cost.
A very good point.
And so that to me that's the big opportunity in 25 and 26. It ought to be bipartisan. It truly ought to be, because we're not reducing benefits and we are reducing the cost. And by the way, that would affect
crime.
I know it ought to be, but it won't be.
So let me just stop.
Yeah.
It ought to be bipartisan. Would you agree or disagree with me on this?
Yes.
The leadership of the Democrat Party.
I would agree or disagree. Yeah.
That's pretty clever.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah.
The leadership of the Democrat Party is literally a relic and stuck in the past in terms of any of their tactics and policy suggestions, and they just can't get out of repeating the kind of ridiculousness that they've done for decades.
I think they are, but I think if it's positioned correctly, I think there's some Democrats, especially in the House, that could be at risk in the next election. Now, one thing that's interesting, Michael, in this package that failed 2 or 3 days ago, it included a dramatic increase in the health care benefits for all federal employees. And here's the thing. I'm on Medicare. Even if I cared about getting a better price, even if I cared about spending less, there's no way I would know how to do it, because I am not told. I cannot find out what the cost of something is before I buy it. And I'm on a program. And those are the rules of the program.
Yeah.
If you are a federal employee and you had, I'm just going to say it this way, I'm Not saying this is what the plan is, but it's a very, very generous plan. If you're, it's like, it was like talking to Vanderbilt students. Vanderbilt students know nothing about how our healthcare system works because they haven't had to pay for any of it, and rarely did they even have to access healthcare because they're healthy people. If you are a federal employee and your insurance pays for almost everything, do you care what the price is?
Not one bit.
It's like if somebody provides you a company car and the company will pay for all the maintenance. Are you going to change the oil as frequently as you would if it were your own car? Chances are you wouldn't, because it doesn't cost you anything. And this is just, we need to recognize certain aspects of human nature and take advantage of those aspects. We can reason, we can think, whereas a pet in your house, you have to pretty much make all the decisions because they don't reason. So you don't feed them bad stuff in their food that's going to make them sick. Human beings, if they eat something bad at a restaurant, guess what? They don't go back to that restaurant again, or they don't buy the food again. And so we need to factor in, but this is an interesting time because the deficits are so bad that bold policy changes must be done, but there is a way to save over $1 trillion on health care at the government level. There's a way to do that, but it requires, and this is what's interesting. Trump, when he was debating Harris, was asked about Obamacare and would he repeal it? And he said, yes, I would repeal it, and I am still working on, he said, I'm still conceptualizing what to replace it with. So that means there's an opportunity here. And if it's explained right, and now since we have at least equal control of the narrative in the media, and you have somebody who is as succinct and eloquent as either Vivek or Elon Musk explaining how these types of policies can actually save a great deal of money, and at the same time keep the quality at least where it is now, and maybe even better.
I have a 2025 Nostradamus question.
Please.
Cromstradamus.
Please.
I'm looking right now at the debt clock. And as of today, December 20th, 2024, the national debt is $36.1 trillion.
Yep.
1 year from today, Crom, what will that number be?
It'll still be, 1 year from today, it'll probably still be north of 40 trillion. It'll probably go up 4 trillion.
How about 2 years from today?
I will say it will go up another 2.5 trillion. In other words, we'll dramatically cut the size of the deficit in the calendar year 2026.
What will it be? How much will it go up in the last year of the Trump administration?
Well, I'm going to say that depends to some extent on who controls the House and the Senate.
I know, but you're Cromstradamus,
Okay.
so you got a good record here.
I'm going to say that our deficit will be rising at under $2 trillion.
Okay.
A year. Now that's still high.
I was going to say it's
still
that's
high.
Still pretty good.
It's still high.
It's pretty high.
It's still high, but it is about 3. It'll be about 3% of our economy, maybe 4. And I think here's kind of the way I look at economics. Doesn't mean it's good policy. I'm just saying this is the way I would look at it. If the deficit is running 3% of GDP and productivity is increasing at 3%, that is essentially inflation neutral. Mm-hmm. That's what but if it's increasing at 6% and productivity is 0, that's really bad. And that's what happened under Biden.
Right.
That is what happened under Biden. Was you had all kinds of policies that dramatically crushed productivity gains, and he was increasing the deficit at the same time.
See, here's the thing. I think your predictions of Cromstradamus are probably in line with sort of perhaps the top end of what would be possible and good.
Okay.
I don't think it's enough. I think we need to get to the point where by the last year of the Trump administration, we are not increasing our national debt. And the odds of that happening are probably not that good.
No, but here's the thing. you have to balance. And this by the way, this now I'm getting back into the Miracle on 34th Street. Is where am I in the common sense and practical versus the believe? Yeah. Okay, because let's remember, Santa Claus, Kris Kringle won. The belief won. Right. Okay, at the end of the day. Now, because if you and I agree that government employee unions will still exist in 4 years, and if we agree that the Democrats would use any reforms on Social Security and Medicare to attack Republicans, that means that Social Security is off the table, and I think it should be for the reasons we previously discussed. Medicare can be reduced in spending, but only as part of fundamental health care reform. That is, to me, the big opportunity.
I got you.
Last single question. Big one. Yes.
Which will happen first? Ready?
Okay.
We land a man or woman on Mars, or we have a year where the federal deficit does not increase. Which will happen first?
You mean a balanced budget?
Yeah.
Well, since I won't be alive when either happens, I'm going to go with Mars.
And the answer is you will be alive and Mars.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for your prediction.
I think
Mike Stradamus on my life, how long I will live. I'm
Mike Stradamus
says,
I'm
pleased to hear that I'll still be alive.
We will be, Elon Musk and the United States of America will place a man and or woman or team on Mars before the end of this decade.
And will that person be named Matt Damon?
No, he'll be named Little X Plus.
No, but that was a good movie.
That was. We'll be back with more. It'll be time for News Potpourri. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy. He's Crom Carmichael.
Carmichael, CEO of Soul Tea, a supplement to help you have a healthier heart and stronger cardiovascular system. At Soul Tea, we regularly get emails from our customers telling us how Soul Tea has helped them. Like this one from Kelly. Hello, I'm 58 years old and have had high cholesterol for years. I wanted to stay away from prescription drugs. My husband and I have been using Soul Tea for about 13 months. My results have been amazing. My cholesterol levels went from 291 to 129. I am so impressed with Soul Tea and want to thank you. Now, in my own case, my bad cholesterol dropped from 130 to 89, and that was 20 years ago. I'm 75 years old and I take 0 prescription drugs. To get a great deal on Soul Tea, please go to GodzillaHeart.com, and when you check out, use the code Godzilla to get our best deal, which is 50% off your first shipment and then 3 bottles for the price of 2 thereafter. You don't have to live with a broken heart.
Do you suffer from
Try
declining
Soul Tea
bone and
today.
joint health? Hi, it's Tina with the John Fredericks Media Network. And when I heard about our company's Women's Challenge, I jumped on the opportunity to test this amazing supplement that's already restoring my bone density, soothing my joint pain, and helping me regain lost mobility. I've experienced so many benefits in such a short time with Native Path Collagen Peptides because they support my bones and joints, boost my metabolism, and unleash the most radiant skin and hair since my 20s. In just 2 weeks, my knee stiffness is gone, and I'm already hitting the gym more aggressively. And I get so many compliments on my glowy skin and shiny hair. Native Path Collagen Peptides are so easy to take. They're tasteless, odorless, and mix great with my morning coffee. Read thousands of 5-star reviews at getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Level up your self-care with Native Path Collagen Peptides. Try it risk-free for as low as $21 today. And get free shipping at getnativepath.com/Godzilla.
In 2008, the amount of concentrated time people could spend on a task without becoming distracted was 12 seconds. 5 years later, it was only 8 seconds, 1 second less than a goldfish. If you're often distracted or have trouble recalling information, you're likely to fall behind in the demanding, fast-paced 21st century. In other words, brain performance is more critical now than ever. Boost your brain power with Healthy Cells Focus Plus Recall. Science-backed nootropics to help you sharpen focus, concentrate longer, enhance recall, improve mental speed, learn rapidly, and be more alert. It's a pill-free brain supplement made with maximum absorption ingestible gel technology, designed to feed your brain at the cellular level. Take it for a test drive. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of Focus Plus Recall. That's HealthyCell.com. Code Godzilla for 20% off.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Original All-Star panelist Crom Carmichael is in studio. Crom, it's that time of day again. It's time for News Potpourri.
Yes, Michael. It's that time of the program with little tidbits to merit the attention of our audience, but not an entire segment and have a touch of
irony.
Yes. Michael, did you know that there actually still is a Flat Earth Society?
Well, how about that?
And there was actually still some true believers. And so the head of the organization decided to prove that the Earth was flat. He recently went to Antarctica and did a 24-hour video of the sun, which then never set. And so it literally did a circle around the camera showed that the sun went in a circle and never set. And then at the end of it, he turns to the camera and says, "Well, I guess we were wrong."
That's funny.
It was hysterical. It's a great little video. You ought to try to find it on you.
That is funny.
On YouTube.
That is funny.
Hillary Clinton slithers out from under a rock in order to attack Elon Musk. And it just is hysterical. And the ironies are fantastic. She says, quote, "If you're just catching up, the Republican Party is taking orders from the world's richest man, is on course to shut down the government over the holidays, stopping paychecks for our troops and nutrition benefits for low-income families just in time for Christmas." Then after that, she bravely turned off her replies on her account. But here's what's so fascinating. Hillary Clinton takes orders from the head of the SEIU, which is the head of the biggest and most powerful unions in the country.
I got an Anthony Fauci story for you.
Oh, please.
He has the perfect gig. He's a professor of many things at Georgetown University.
Oh, gosh.
But he never teaches anything. It's a no-show job.
Gosh.
Anthony
And by the way,
yeah,
that's what you get if you toe the leftist line. Once you are no longer employed by the government, there's some entity that receives a lot of money from the government that hires you at a very large amount of money.
I got a sports one for you.
Please.
Last night, Thursday night football, Jim Harbaugh used a rule in the NFL that has not been used in 48 years.
Oh.
Did you see that?
No.
So it's almost the end of the half.
Okay.
And the opponent, the Broncos, were in their own territory, and they kicked a punt, and it landed, I think, about the 40-yard line, and the guy there tried to do a fair catch, and he was interfered with. And so they moved it up to the 45-yard line, roughly.
Their own 45.
The 45-yard line of the Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it was the 47-yard line of
Yeah.
the Broncos. Here's the obscure rule. If you make a fair catch in football, you are allowed to kick a field goal from that spot without anybody from the other team trying to block it.
Right.
So, end of half, fair catch at about the 40-yard line. It's interfered with. They move it up to the 47-yard line
Okay.
of
And
the
he made it.
Broncos.
Yeah.
No opposition.
Yeah.
Kicked a 57-yard field goal.
Okay. Well, and that's I'm surprised. I will tell you, I knew that rule existed.
You did.
I did. I knew that rule existed, but I had no idea that it had not been used
in 48 years.
In 48 years, because it doesn't take a bad punt. I mean, in other words, it's a great rule because it's a great opportunity because if you have no defensive line, I mean, these guys who kick off from the 35-yard line, they kick it halfway into the end zone. So they from their own 45, they could kick a 65-yard field goal and do it probably, I'm going to say, at least 1/3 of the time.
And you know the interesting thing about that, all the guys in the Broncos were looking around like, "What's going on here?
Yeah.
What's going on here?" And this is Jim Harbaugh, who loves football rules and history and trivia as much as Bill Belichick does.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
that's a very clever use of the rules. But I'm astounded that no one's used it in 48 years.
Yeah.
This is interesting. ABC's, we're now seeing stories that the settlement from ABC with Trump came from the top of ABC.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it was, who's the guy that's head of it?
Doesn't matter.
Anyway, the guy from Disney. I mean,
Iger.
Iger. Yes.
Iger, okay.
Yeah. It wasn't even ABC.
It was Disney.
It was Disney, and so George Stephanopoulos at that point, he had a choice. He could either say, "I will not sign that document because it will hurt my integrity, and I am a man of integrity," or I will sign that document and then trash it. Okay.
And take my money.
Take his 25 and keep his job and and what is reported to be a $25 million annual contract.
Right.
So what we now know is that George Stephanopoulos would rather have the money and have no integrity and have it known that he has no integrity. He'd rather do that. And the fact that ABC and Disney would rather have somebody who is in their employ as a journalist who is a known slanderer is quite something. And I found that interesting. Indiana University headline from the BizPack Review: Indiana University requires students to detail how their privilege caused, quote, oppression over, quote, subordinate groups. And this is a requirement for anyone who attends Indiana University. Let me say this. Those types of forced programs cannot possibly be helpful. Cannot possibly. When you force somebody to say they're a bad person in one form or another, force them to. Now, if somebody acknowledges they're a bad person, that's voluntary. But if you're going to make them take a course where they have to do it, that is so divisive and terrible. MSNBC's Stephanie Rule says reaching Harris during the campaign was like using the Pony Express.
Couldn't get to her.
Couldn't get to her. But here's what's so interesting. They only tell us this now, not when.
But she was able to reach Trump with one phone call.
Yes, that's right.
And she said, "Hey, can you come on my show?" And he basically said, "No blanking way."
Okay, well, at least
you reached him.
At least reached. Yeah.
We got time for one more.
One more. The Black Widow is a woman who killed 2 husbands and a boyfriend to collect insurance.
Right.
Biden pardoned her. Isn't that a state? Aren't those murders state crimes?
Apparently not.
Okay, apparently not. And anyway, Tyrus was beside himself on this, as am I. And I wonder who in the heck slipped that pardon under the desk, under the
gold bars were exchanged.
There you go. There you go.
Crom, thanks for joining us.
Merry Christmas, Michael.
Merry Christmas. Up next, Rob Carson. I'll be back. Well, we're taking the next week off. It'll be best of. And we'll be back here a week from Monday. But we'll be on Best Of for all week, Christmas week.
All right.
Have a great Christmas. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy. This is Michael Patrick Leahy. I want to say a word about my good friend Dustin Damon. Dustin is the best handyman in Middle Tennessee. Call Dustin today at 724-683-4400. That's 724-683-4400 if you have a job around the house that you just haven't gotten around to. If you're busy like me, you just may not have the time to fix that broken mailbox, repair the back porch, or get that old light fixture back to working properly. Do what I did. Call Dustin Damon today at 724-683-4400, and he will bring his truck and tools to your house and get that job done lickety-split. Dustin's main service area is Williamson County and the southern part of Davidson County. So call Dustin Damon, the best handyman in Middle Tennessee today, at 724-683-4400. Tell him you heard about him on the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. The Chief Team reminds listeners here that more and more veterans will be returning home over the next few years, and many are local. These heroes have elite military training and valuable professional skills, but they also need jobs too. That's why the Chief Team is encouraging all local businesses. Let's make it the year we hire smart and hire veterans. That's from the Chief Team, where they say service isn't just a courtesy, it's a commitment. For more information, call 931-444-3572. That's 931-444-3572 for the Chief Team in Clarksville.
The Black preaching tradition is deeply connected to gospel music.
PBS presents a new series hosted by Henry Louis Gates Jr., Gospel.
Our singers preach and our preachers sing.
Gospel is a prayer. It is our heart's cry to God in lyrics and song.
You feel it deep down in your soul.
Gospel. Streaming now on the PBS app.